All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, grade 12s, and welcome to another lesson of grade 12 life orientation on STEM Lockdown Digital School. Welcome to everybody that is joining us for the very first time, and welcome to those learners that have been joining us in the last couple of weeks. And welcome to the learners that are watching over YouTube as well. It's so amazing to know that this amazing platform will allow learners will not only bridge the gap in education, but would allow learners, even in the future, to have a look at these videos and catch up as well. And you guys remember, you can use these videos. There's a playlist that has been created on YouTube where you guys can view these lessons and as well as other lessons to get you up to speed with your work, as well as you can use them to help you revise as well. You guys, my name is Sibusiso Masumbuka, and my email address is sibusisomasumbuka@ymail.com. Please feel free to email me about any queries, concerns, or issues that you may be encountering as far as life orientation is concerned. Today, we're going to be looking at, we're going to still be focusing on chapter 7, depending on what textbook that you are using, and that is the topic of democracy and human rights. You know, I actually thought of something. Guys, we did our revision for term 1, and we already have started with term 2 work already. And it's so amazing to know that you all have been engaging and been getting up to speed with your work. Yesterday, we introduced the topic of democracy and human rights, and we spoke about what it is on Monday rather, sorry, on Tuesday rather, we spoke about what it is to be a responsible citizen. We spoke about the Bill of Rights that protect us in Chapter 2 of the Constitution. We spoke that the Constitution is the highest law in the country. Um, and we also spoke about discrimination and many other different types of human rights violations. But also part of being a responsible citizen, we discussed about how we as young people and as citizens of South Africa have the responsibility to take part in discussions, projects, campaigns, and events that try and address the issues of discrimination and human rights violations in our country. Yesterday, we particularly looked at the role of the media in democracy, as well as how we can express ourselves. We have the freedom of expression, as well as some of the limitations to freedom of expression. We said that we have the right to freedom of expression, but we have the responsibility to use this freedom with care and to take note of all these limitations and making sure that we do not violate other people's rights. And we also spoke about um, the Protection of State Information Bill, which is also known as the Secrecy Bill. We said that some of the information that the state withholds is actually supposed to be just for the state's information, and there's some things that cannot be discussed. We also spoke about media reporting and how it reflects on a democratic society. And we ended off the lesson by talking about sports coverage. We spoke about how some sports are actually not covered, and most of the sports that are covered are the big five sports in South Africa, which is men's soccer, rugby, cricket, golf, and motor racing, and that not all sports are actually being covered, which also then reflects that there's also a gap in our constitution where not everybody is given leverage in terms of being exposed, and this obviously makes people feel disheartened and not take part in sports. But we also know how important it is for us to take part in sports because it helps us not only on a physical level, but also on our emotional and mental um, basis as well. And we said that women's sports is not usually, but it is actually quite marginalized in South Africa. It's very rare that you watch a match on TV or you watch a sports channel and a lot of the sports that is covered is about women or is about women's sports. And we also spoke about how women are also not paid um, as male sports stars on television, and that is because we as South Africans actually do not support women in sports. Because sponsors who are financial institutions and other big corporate companies, um, remember their contribution in sports. It's also for them to get some form of business back. And we said that how can we bridge that gap? How can we make sure that marginalized sports, that women sports, can then now be funded properly and taken more seriously? We said that we can curb that issue, or we can fix that issue rather, by viewing these different types of sports and supporting women in sports. Because it would be, it wouldn't make business sense for most of these corporate companies and these financial institutions to invest in a sport where the grandstands are actually quite empty, or where the viewership is actually quite less. But now we're going to be talking more in detail about the ideologies. Today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the ideologies, the beliefs, and the worldviews on recreation and physical activity across cultures and genders. And then we're going to wrap up the lesson by looking at the commitments. How do we commit ourselves in taking part in physical activities for long-term engagement, as well as developing an action plan for ourselves? Because it's so important. You know, the reason why physical education was included in our curriculum is by making sure the government saw how important it is for people to be physically active and still be able to do recreational activities, because it does help with our mental and physical well-being as well. Now, as we start off our lesson, we need to be able to understand particular terminologies and words. And the words that are going to be coming up or popping up, or that we need to be aware of, is ideologies, worldviews, as well as cultures. Ideologies are an organized set of beliefs, values, and ideas. They are the way we believe we should live in the world, and the way in which society should operate. Political ideologies include democracy, communism, and nationalism as well. And then a worldview is a general standpoint or side from which people see and interpret the world. So it's the way in which we see the world. And obviously, our
Teacher, sound. Teacher, sound.
hello.
Sound. You're back.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that minor glitch there, but we're back, and thank you for sticking with us. So we're looking at ideologies, beliefs, and worldviews on recreation and physical activity across cultures and genders. All right. So like I was saying, that our worldviews, which is the way we view the world, are obviously based on our ideologies, which is our ideas and our beliefs and our values about lives, about our life and how the world should operate. And then culture, which is a terminology that we're exposed to and that we know of. Just to remind you that a culture or cultures is the beliefs, the behaviors, the items, the ideas that are common to members of a particular group or a society. It includes our language, the way we dress, our customs, which are the rituals that we do, values, our norms, traditions, and rituals. All right, so in our cultures and in our different religions, we have different ideologies and different worldviews as well. Whether you fall in a particular subculture or subgroup or religion or religious belief, uh, there are certain ideologies that are brought in forth about how we see the world. And particularly today, we're going to be looking at what our cultures, our religions, our traditions say about physical activities, as well as gender participation in physical activities. Now, we know that physical activities can relate to sports and exercising. What recreational activities are those activities that we enjoy to do. So, for example, the balancing game. You know when you walk on a pole on a horizontal pole, and you walk across it and you're trying to balance that. That is another form of recreation. many other recreational activities that we're exposed to. So I would like to find out from you in the chat box. Let me know what are some of the recreational activities that are part of your religious belief, that are part of your culture. I would like to find out from you what some of those activities are, and we can further discuss how or what are the ideologies and what are the beliefs and the worldviews around those particular recreational activities. Please let me know as well in those recreational activities that happen in your cultures and in your religions as well. Um, what are the limitations in terms of who can take part in those activities? Can boys and girls take part in them? Can people who are living with disabilities take part in them? Are they inclusive? All right, and the reason why we're talking about this is obviously because we've been discussing the idea of human rights and inclusivity as well. We said that our constitution perpetuates the idea of inclusivity, which means that everybody in our country should feel included and be a part of everything. But we also know that some cultures and some religions do have certain limitations, and obviously some people who fall in a particular group, for example, females or people living with disabilities, may sometimes be excluded from these. All right. The ideologies, beliefs, and worldviews that people have on recreation and physical activity differ across all cultures and genders. All right. The reasons why people take part is to what extent the recreation or the physical activity are encouraged. All right. So it is because whether or not females are encouraged or not, or whether males are encouraged or not. And the specific types of recreational activities and physical activities that are emphasized, it varies by quite a great deal. Now let's have a look at some Eastern and Western cultures. All right. And as far as physical activity and recreational activities are concerned. In some Eastern countries, forms of martial arts or self-defense such as judo, karate, and tai chi are practiced by many people because these activities are part of their ideologies, belief systems, cultures, and religions as well. You know, for example, in the Chinese culture, they have martial arts, and martial arts is part of the Chinese culture. It is also a sport as well, which has developed over a long time. In sumo wrestling, I'm sure you guys have seen sumo wrestling. That falls part of the Japanese culture, and it is believed that it is good for people to take part in sumo as well. And a professional sumo wrestler in Japan is actually considered to be a hero by Japanese people as well. So, you know, I want to find out from you what are some of the ideologies in your culture, in your religion, that are perpetuated around certain recreational activities. And I mean, if in the Japanese culture, sorry, sumo wrestlers are considered to be heroes. What are some of the um, values or systems or beliefs around a particular sport that takes place in your particular um, culture or religion? You could fall part of an African traditional culture or religion, and in your culture or your religion, if you, for example, are a stick fighter, you may be considered or be perpetuated to be a person with heroic values as well. All right. We also know of yoga or meditation, which is also viewed as a spiritual in most religions, such as Hinduism and in the Buddhist religion. And these activities are seen as healthy activities in the Western world. All right, increasingly people recognize that regular participation in recreation and physical activities promotes mental and physical health and well-being as well, and it helps build communities and nations. Gyms are being established in many cities and in towns. In the West, boot camps where we are exposed to strict exercise regimes similar to army fitness routines are increasingly becoming more popular and more popular. And these are especially aimed at women who want to increase their fitness as well. In the Western culture, on the contrary, unlike traditional cultures, sports is a way of making money. You know, this is a different way of seeing it. Lots of money is spent on sporting activities and events as well as sponsorship. Sports is a huge industry, which offers many job opportunities for a lot of people, like being a sports coach or being an active sports participant who is actually a player who plays in matches as well. The focus of sport on developing champions is very special, with very special skills as well. People from all around the world who take part, um, who participate in watching these Western sports, such as golf and soccer and motor racing, which bring people together. So it does bring or formulate the idea of nation building as well. Have a look at the South African culture. In South Africa under apartheid, certain sports were designated for specific cultural groups. Like, for example, rugby was seen to be a sport for white males. With democracy, there has been an improvement, and now all people are allowed and encouraged to play sports that they would like. We also know that there's been a change, a demographic change in our South African rugby team as well, with obviously Siya Kolisi being um, a black captain as well. So there's a lot of change that has been brought up, and it has reflected equity in our culture, in our society as well. Also, women were not allowed to take part in rugby, or in particular sports as well. Rugby was seen as a male sport, but we all know now see that there's a lot of female rugby players who also play in leagues at provincial level, as well as at a national level as well. And as we all know that next year we've got the national women rugby championships, where we also have a Springbok teams, by the way, where they will be taking part in the World Cup as well. So yes, the ideas or the beliefs around women taking part in particular sports has grown as well. Some ideas are that men can't take part in particular sports as well. For example, netball. But we've seen that there are many other different, or there are many males who are involved in these particular sports, especially netball as well. It's grown drastically. But also looking at the South African culture as far as sports is concerned, and when we talk about the South African culture, we're talking about the culture that is based, or that is on the basis of our constitution, making sure people are treated equally and are treated fairly as well. Um, we've seen how the different types of sports have brought some form of unity, and nation building as well. Yesterday we reflected on the Rugby World Cup that took part last year. Sorry, feels like yesterday actually. Where we won the World Cup. Everybody was behind the books, backing them up. People from different, a lot of people think that rugby is just a sport that is watched by white people or people of a particular race. But we saw black, white, Indian, pink people watching the sports and celebrating. And look at how it brought everyone together. And that perpetuates the values of our constitution, which is obviously unity as well. All right, let's have a look at some of the other traditional cultures and indigenous games. Before I do that, I'm gonna look at some of your comments in the chat box and find out what you guys are saying in terms of that. All right, there hasn't been anything that has been said yet, but I will definitely read some of your comments a bit later. But let's have a look at traditional cultures and indigenous games. So we all know that in South Africa we have lots and lots of cultures, and we are exposed to a lot of indigenous games that we play, which obviously have formed part of our culture as well. So culture plays an important part in the choice of recreation. For example, in Tonga, or stick fighting is a very popular recreational activity by the Nguni culture. It goes back to into the Zulu culture as long as ago, and it's in the time of the Zulu chief. That is where it derived from. And also in some Chibenda male cultures, the bare knuckle fist fights are a common form of boxing believed to promote manliness and cultural tradition. So sometimes these games, or I'm sorry, these recreational activities and physical activities have a lot to do with manlyhood, or what culture has decided to be manly or feminine as well. And in many traditional cultures, if you are good at sport, it boosts your social status. So we also know that the first team rugby boys in your school are taken quite seriously. But the same should happen with the first team netball girls or the B team cricket team. Everybody should also be taken seriously. But obviously, because rugby is a physical sport, and there's that sort of aggressiveness, and there's a lot of competitiveness that is perpetuated in that particular sport. Obviously, a lot of people see people who play rugby to be the opposite of being vulnerable. They're considered to be macho and strong as well. But what sports also does is that it teaches us as young people the values of the different cultures in which we live in, as well as even other values such as teamwork and self-discipline. That's what sports does, and I encourage you that whilst you are in school, that you must take part in sports, and even when you have left high school, that you must take part in sporting activities because it really does help with self-discipline and teamwork and being able to work with other people as well. Right. Um, so we also know of the Olympic Games that take place every 4 years, where the best sports people from all over the world compete for gold medals in a variety of different sports. Differences in ideologies, beliefs, and worldviews become less important than the opportunity to take part on that particular world platform. Women increasingly are competing in the Olympics, which is really great to see, and more nations are able to send their sports stars to these events. Sports people or people who or sports stars and budding sports stars get an opportunity to learn about other cultures, and as they spread a unified image of participation in sports. So events that like the Olympics, like the Paralympics, um, can help encourage nations to take part and have an equal access to physical activity as well. All right. And then, as far as gender is concerned, participation in sports and many recreational activities is still dominated by men, as we've all seen, and we still see it in our society as well. And many people believe that men are more competitive, or male sports is more competitive and more aggressive, and that these qualities are necessary to play sports or to be a winner. Men who are not interested in sports are actually quite ridiculed. You always made fun of if you don't take part in sports as a man. Um, and women who are good in sports, on the contrary, are actually accused of being too manly. An example is Caster Semenya, for example. And there's a lot of other women who take part in other sporting codes which are perpetuated to be for men, and we know how they are always made fun of, which is not the right thing to do because um, those are just I'm just making you aware of some of the ideologies and some of the beliefs around physical activity as far as gender is concerned. In some cultures, women are severely restricted when it comes to what they can wear when they play sports. This means that they are often marginalized. Um, for example, in Iran, all women who have to cover their hair, their neck, bodies, arms, and legs according to the Islamic laws. The Iranian women athletes, even those who compete internationally, have to obey by Iran's dress code. Iranian women athletes do not do well in international sports such as karate and volleyball. However, they are absent from swimming and gymnastics. Why? Because of the way in which the Iranian dress code stipulates. Sadly, Islamic Iranian women soccer team was disqualified for taking part in a sport during FIFA and the World Cup because of the rules that govern the FIFA rules. Some female boxers are at the center of a dress code debate, and whether they should be forced to wear mini skirts as well. So we know that culture, our religion, plays a huge part in all of these, in how women can take part in sports. And we all know that if you want to take part in sports, that you must dress or dress in proper kits. But obviously, some cultures may be restricting as well. Now, I want us to look at the benefits or the commitment to you guys taking part in physical and recreational activities after school. Now, this chapter is actually further on in life orientation, but I thought that it would be befitting for me to include it in today's lesson, seeing that we're talking about physical activity as well. Let's look at the commitment to participate in physical activities for long-term engagement and developing an action plan. It is vital to take part in physical activities in long-term basis. The physical, mental, and social and emotional benefits are important. Some of the emotional benefits is that it keeps your body healthy, it helps you keep your mind alert. There are social benefits where you're able to make friends and feel part of a group. And there's other emotional benefits as well. All right, I've got more benefits here that I've projected onto the screen, and I hope you're all able to read it. Um, and let's look at some of the physical benefits of taking part in sports. Guys, I'm going to tell you this now. It's so difficult for you to be able to control your health and to look after your health once you've left high school, because you don't have a parent to remind you to eat or to take part in sports all the time. You don't have an allo teacher who wants to train you and or encourages you to take part in physical activities once you leave high school. Um, and sometimes it's very difficult to even maintain your weight if you don't take part in physical activities. But let's look at why we are encouraging you to take part in sports or even other recreational activities. So you may also be interested in following a gym routine all the time. Um, I particularly find gym to be quite a huge commitment and very difficult for myself. So I actually play sports on the side to try and keep fit as well. So some of the physical benefits is that you have stronger bones, protects you from osteoporosis, reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke, increase from protection of viral diseases, prevention of diabetes, prevention of cancers, improve general health and fitness. There's nothing that helps you to be active, even at work, if you are physically well. Some of the benefits, the mental benefits, is that it clears your mind, it keeps your mind alert, it helps you prevent mental disease, such as depression, prevents you from negative thinking. The social benefits is that it helps you in making friends and keeping friends, so initiating and building and sustaining those relationships with your friends, or you may meet friends at a boxing ring or a boxing club or a netball club or a soccer club that you might join. Excuse me. It helps you to integrate in a new situation. You meet new people all the time. It prevents you from loneliness. It promotes social support. You formulate new friendship. It decreases absenteeism at work because you're obviously fit and you're healthy. It improves teamwork, as well as leadership skills, because we all know that we all learn some form of leadership skills from taking part in sports, even when you're not a captain. It promotes a spirit of cooperation and reduces health costs as well. Now we all know that some of these, now that we are in lockdown, some of these social benefits may obviously not be seen. But I was at my school on our Instagram page, we have started a home workout challenge where we're able to post the different types of home workouts to encourage more and more people to take part in physical activity and recreational activities. And it's so amazing how many different types of physical activities that people are doing. So perhaps even in your own school, even with your group of friends, put up a challenge where people can actually do physical activities and take part, and making sure that they are keeping fit and alert during this time. The emotional benefits of taking part in physical activities or recreational activities is that it brings enjoyment. You have a sense of self-worth and a sense of self-improvement, relaxation. It reduces stress, having fun and laughing, and it keeps you making you happy, and you feel young as well, and you feel good about yourself. You look forward to these activities. It prevents depression, it prevents stress, and it brings about personal satisfaction by obviously seeing those results. So guys, I urge you again, it's so imperative for you to take part in physical activities as well. Now, obviously, I wouldn't just have this lesson without having a PT lesson that is incorporated into this lesson today. So I've got a home workout video, and I hope you guys will be able to take part in it. I won't play the entire video, and unfortunately, we do not have sound. But please, you can play some music in the background, and you can watch this video. This is actually a 30-minute video, but I'm obviously not gonna play the entire video because of time constraints. But please get up, take part in the activity, and perhaps you can try out your own home workout video, and you can send it to me, and let's see you having fun um, whilst doing these activities as well. So please, I'm gonna play the video now. Please don't go away, all right? And then we'll come back just for me to wrap up the lesson. I'm gonna play this video clip for about 5 minutes for us, all right? right, guys. I really hope that you guys enjoyed that home workout video. I'm gonna see if there's other chats in the chat box or questions or queries, and then I'm going to wrap up today's lesson. All right. It seems like there's nothing in the chat box. Thanks to all the learners that have taken part in today's lesson. I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 o'clock for another life orientation lesson. Tomorrow we are going to be looking um, at more on we're going to be talking about social and environmental justice. And I want to wrap up this lesson, today's lesson, by because we've been talking about human rights and as well as democracy and human rights. Uh, I want to end up with this quote with you, close off this lesson or this chapter with this quote by Mother Teresa, and it says, "Human rights are not a privilege that are confirmed by government. They are every human being's entitlement by virtue of his or her humanity." Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Please follow our social media pages. Use the hashtags that you guys can see here. Please send me an email if you have any queries or concerns, and please join my Google Classroom where you will be able to get a hold of all these slides that I've been given you that will help you in revising while studying for your exams. And you can also find these slides alternatively on the Africa Teen Geeks website. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tomorrow is Friday. Yay! And I will see you bright and early at 10 o'clock. Goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day.